Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Myanmar has observed 1 minute of silence to mourn those who died from last week's magnitude 7.7 earthquake that killed more than 2,000 people. Friday's earthquake was felt in neighbouring countries like Thailand, hundreds of miles away, where the death toll stands at 20. The military junta now says at least 2,000 people have been killed and announced a week of mourning. Rescuers in both countries are still searching for survivors, though hopes are fading fast. The UN says the earthquake has compounded an already dire crisis in Myanmar, which is in the midst of a 4-year civil war.
It's not enough to get immediate relief. One has to, because that is life-saving. But simultaneously, you've got to look at how recovery can start right away, because this is just devastating. It's 2,000 plus a death toll. But now we're getting reports from our teams on the ground that if you look at Sagaing town, about 80% of it is destroyed.
An Israeli airstrike on Beirut's southern suburbs has killed at least 3 people, Lebanon's health ministry says, putting further pressure on a fragile ceasefire between Israel and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. The attack was the second on the area known as Da'iya, where Hezbollah has a strong presence in recent days, despite the truce that came into force in November. The Israeli military said it had targeted a Hezbollah operative who had helped Hamas. Vladimir Putin is reportedly calling up more citizens to strengthen Russia's military. According to the Russian news agency Interfax, Mr. Putin has ordered a further 160,000 Russian men between the ages of 18 and 30 to be called up, with the new order to be completed by July. That number marks an increase from previous military drafts, with 150,000 called up last year and 134,000 in 2022. A national protest meant to pressure Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa to resign turned into a shutdown as citizens opted to stay away rather than take to the streets amid a heavy security presence. Only a handful of protesters took part in the planned march, spearheaded by a group of disgruntled war veterans who have accused Mnangagwa of corruption and wanting to cling on to power. Following the reports of a low turnout, protest leader Blessed Gazer urged Zimbabweans not to be cowards in a post on X. A Cornell University graduate student who had his US visa revoked due to protest activities against Israel has chosen to leave the US rather than be deported. Momodo Tal, who is a joint citizen of the UK and Gambia, had his student visa revoked due to his on-campus protest activities last year as the Israeli-Gaza war raged on. Mr. Tal previously sued to block his deportation, but on Monday posted on X that he had chosen to leave the country free and with my head held high. At least 73 million people are under threat of severe weather as storms hit the central United States. Here, trees being pulled down by winds in a garden in Michigan. The National Weather Service Prediction Centre warned of enhanced risk of possible tornadoes, large hail and downpours of rain. In Michigan, more than 300,000 power outages were reported, while 100,000 were reported for Wisconsin and Indiana. Storms are expected to continue in various states through Thursday. And a major incident has been declared by Birmingham City Council in the UK over the ongoing bin strike, which has left 17,000 tonnes of waste on the streets. Its declaration means the council can increase its street cleaning operation and fly tipping removal by bringing in an extra 35 vehicle and crews. Unite Union members have been on all-out strike since the 11th of March in a row over pay. Residents in many areas of the city say they have had enough of seeing mountains of rubbish piling up.
Well, look, there are lots of bins out because, one of the advice from the council is leave your bins out if they haven't been collected. And that means there's lots of blockages on many of the footpaths. I've seen bags that have been ripped open by the foxes overnight with rubbish out on the streets, into the road.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.